Greetings. How are you? Well, I happen to know both of you. So, Ludmila and Gina. Ludmila is a colleague. She's a federal court interpreter in North Carolina, but she moved to somewhere else. I don't remember. Texas. And Gina Kennison is my aunt. So that's how we know each other. But, anyways, you know me. My name is Ariana Aguilar. And I am going to go over so you had a bad day overcoming anxiety while interpreting. So that is what we would be talking about today. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Give me just 1 second. All right. So there's my name and my email in case you don't have it. And my new logo, Latino Outreach Consulting, my new logo. So I'm very proud about that. So what we will discuss today, we're going to talk about when anxiety can be helpful. Believe it or not, it can be helpful sometimes. We're also going to talk about workplace anxiety and how it affects our ability to interpret. We're going to talk about imposter syndrome, which is something that afflicts quite a bit of us, and vicarious trauma and techniques that combat workplace anxiety. So first, what is stress? It is any physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. Now, interestingly enough, the literature says that a mild degree of stress and tension can be beneficial. So if we're feeling kind of stressed out while we're doing a project or an assignment, that makes us to do a good job and to work energetically. So it's like making music. On your violin here, you have to have a certain amount of tension to be able to play the notes. So like this says, for violinists to make music, the strings must be taut, but only to a degree. If they are too tight, they'll snap. If the strings are too loose, they will not produce music. So the proper amount of tension lies between the two extremes. And that is so true. So as interpreters, we can think of ourselves as violinists, professional musicians that we work with our stress and our anxiety. And oh, hold on, I have another person coming in. Okay. So the proper amount of tension lies somewhere between the two extremes. So, workplace anxiety. How many of us have had a bad day at work where we were not on point? I think I can say, without looking at your hands up or anything like that, that everyone is going to say, yeah, I've had a bad day before. I've felt sometimes where I'm like subpar, performing subpar. But if it controls us, then that's when it becomes a problem. So having a bad day, yes, okay. But if it controls you, then you know that you have to work on it. So when stress is overwhelming or poorly managed, its negative effects appear. So some stress is good. It makes us work harder. It makes us want to work well. It makes us want to do the best job that we can. So stress in itself is not our enemy, because it's only when it's overwhelming that it starts to affect us negatively. So pretty much many times you only need to identify what is the problem, what is the physical and psychological problem, and if we identify them, then the stress will disappear. So if you can isolate clearly in your mind what's putting you under stress, your response to it will be less severe, even if the cause cannot be avoided. So we have to identify what is it that is causing us stress. And once we do that, we can identify it, we can work on it, and help that stress go away. So what are some symptoms of workplace anxiety? First, excessive worry about work-related tasks, fear of appearing nervous, fear of asking questions or asking for help, fear of giving feedback to coworkers when you see a mistake that they have made, fear of being seen as incompetent, lazy, or unqualified. Let me Give me just 1 second. I just want to see if you. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? All right. I'm sorry about that. I'm having a problem here. Hold on 1 second. All right. Okay. So as I was saying, there there are some symptoms of workplace performance anxiety. If we are too worried about how to do our job, if we're afraid that we're appearing nervous to others, if we're afraid to ask questions or for help, also afraid of giving feedback to coworkers if you see a mistake that they have made, fear of being seen as incompetent, lazy, or unqualified. So these are some of the fears that can make us have anxiety. Especially my favorite is the fear of appearing nervous. This personally is something that I work on. Um, I feel sometimes nervous and I feel worried that other people are going to notice that I'm nervous. So that's something that I work on, and I bet you guys have some of these that you have to work on too. So if we're irritable or depressed or disappointed with ourselves, even if we haven't made mistakes, if we have increased emotional reactions, loss of interest in work, or confidence in your abilities, poor memory, fatigue, and trouble concentrating. So, interestingly enough, anxiety can make us feel things that are not necessarily true, like disappointment with ourselves, even if I haven't made a mistake, or loss of confidence in our abilities, or poor memory, or trouble concentrating. Those are things that are going to affect our interpretation because we need to have good memory, and good concentration. So if we're anxious, it's actually going to affect those those things. So we have to work on how do we get rid of anxiety. And actually, let's talk about vicarious trauma. It's stress after interpreting. So vicarious trauma basically is when you absorbed the other person's trauma. So what happens is that you respond to their traumatic history and you can feel as if you're going through what they're going through. So Psychology Today, the magazine, says that interpreters seem to experience vicarious trauma differently than other professionals since they do more than witness the trauma, they channel it. So the fact that we're saying the words of the other person, we're channeling their emotions, those can become burdens to bear. And so how do we how do we um what do we do? The other thing that I want to talk about is imposter syndrome. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this. If you want to comment in the box, you can let me know. Okay. So imposter syndrome is a fancy name, And it means when you feel incompetent regardless of your true competence. In other words, you feel that you're being a fraud. You feeling that you're self-doubting yourself, and despite other proof that you are competent, you seem to be unable to internalize their accomplishments, however successful they are in their field. It's interesting enough, this is usually for high achieving, highly successful people. So it doesn't mean low self-esteem or lack of self-confidence. It's just a mental issue that we have to come over, because an imposter that suffers from imposter syndrome feels like no matter what they do, they're not good enough, and they feel like they're hiding their inadequacies from other people, but someday they'll find out. So that feeling of fraudulence, that you're a fraud and you don't know what you're doing, is what imposter syndrome means. So it's interestingly enough that it's usually high achieving, highly successful people who suffer from this. So it doesn't mean that does not equate with actual performance. So that's interesting. So what can we do? Because we have a lot of effects on anxiety on interpreting. For example, for simultaneous interpreting, we may feel like we're running a race that we're not able to keep up. For consecutive interpreting, we can feel nervous before an audience, especially if it's a bilingual audience, or you may feel nervous working with a colleague. Another thing that happens is that it affects memory and concentration, and it makes us just go blank. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to get to the page. Okay. So I have unmuted all of you, so you can unmute yourselves and you can comment if you want to comment. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Somebody's here.
Yeah, let me put my picture up.
Okay.
I look terrible. Wait, I don't find my camera. Anyway, go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So like I said, anxiety affects interpreting. It can make us nervous. And there's also, it can make us nervous if we're working for an admired colleague. In my case, I call this the Castillo effect because I really admire Javier Castillo. And when I work with him, I feel nervous. Oh my God, I'm doing such a terrible job, which I'm not. But I feel that way. So I call that the Castillo effect. Don't share that with him.
Oh no.
So anxiety.
If it makes you
Yeah.
feel better, if it makes you feel better, I feel the same way, especially the first few times. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a common feeling.
Oh.
And we especially get nervous when we're interpreting and we notice in the audience there's like bilingual attorneys. That makes us nervous.
Yeah.
And
for me, it's the imposter effect, imposter anxiety.
Okay. So
But I can't get my picture.
I think I have been through all of them at one point or another.
Yeah.
very common.
Hold on.
Hello?
Yeah. She just said hold on.
I can't hear you.
What about now?
Now, yes.
Okay, it's my microphone.
Okay.
Whew. So sometimes, we can get nervous because of the audience. Like I remember some time ago, I was interpreting for a case and a lady in the audience yelled out, "That's not what she said." And I was like, "Oh my God, what did I say wrong?" And I didn't actually make a mistake, but the fact that I was called out made me so anxious and nervous. So how does anxiety affect interpreting? Well, it affects our memory and it affects our concentration. So if we don't have good memory skills and concentration skills, it obviously will affect our interpreting skills. So one of the things that happens a lot is going blank. In other words, that you're just like, you know what? I don't even know what to say. I I'm going blank. So why is it that anxiety affects our memory? Well, we've heard of this before, the fight or flight syndrome. So when we become anxious or stressed, we produce adrenaline, which is a hormone that is produced by the adrenal glands during high stress or exciting situations. This also causes the body to release cortisol, and this is designed to give you energy and strength in case you need to fight or run away. So it does this by disrupting the function of neurotransmitters, which carry information between brain cells. The end result is that your brain struggles to process information and lay down memories. So anxiety impacts our interpreting because it disrupts the function of the neurotransmitters in our brain. And that's what carries the information between the brain cells. So then the brain has a problem of processing the information and having even short-term memory. So that is the reason why when we feel anxious, it affects our interpreting. So how does stress impact your life and your career? You could miss opportunities for career advancement, harm professional relationships, makes you feel inadequate at work and at home, constantly feeling you are trying to hide weaknesses from bosses and coworkers, stopping you from trying new things, sharing ideas, or reaching your full potential because you are afraid you will mess up or look silly. So let's talk about these one by one. First of all, it can make us miss opportunities for career advancement. If we have a lot of stress, many times we will doubt ourselves. Like we already talked about the imposter syndrome. And so we feel like we're not qualified, so we don't go after any career advancement positions. Or we can harm professional relationships. How do you think that stress affects professional relationships? I would like to hear from you if you have any ideas. Anyone? Yes, Ruby.
Well, sometimes you feel like the other person is uh, judging you and hanging on every last word that you say, and so that makes it an adversary situation.
Hmm.
So that's going to affect the work relationship and the ability to work together as a team.
That's a good point. Really good point. I like that. So stress can make us feel inadequate. Can make us feel like we're always trying to hide our weaknesses from our bosses, from our coworkers. That kind of goes back to the imposter syndrome where we feel like we're hiding the truth. That the truth is that we're failures. And that makes us feel like failures actually. So it makes us have anxiety. Like if we're trying to hide something, obviously it's going to make us feel anxious. So also it affects us from trying new things or doing or sharing ideas or reaching your full potential because you're afraid you'll mess up or look silly. Has this ever happened to you? No?
No, I usually do it anyway and then overanalyze what I've said and people's reactions, and then I stress afterwards. So I do it and then I stress like later at night.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I just delay the stress response. Just jump head first,
Well,
and
that's
then
good.
yeah, later on that day, I'm like, what did I say? Why did I say it this way? Why didn't I do this instead? Maybe I look like an idiot. Anyway, yeah, I have delayed response.
Mm.
But at least you get it done.
Yeah, I do get it done. Then later, I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have this. I shouldn't have signed up for this. I shouldn't have said, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I do it, and then I regret.
Mm. Yeah, I struggle with feeling that I will mess up or look silly. So sometimes I feel like I'm interpreting, and like Lumila said, I'm like, man, did I say that right the right way? I don't even know. Or am I just making it up as I go along? I don't even know. So if we're constantly feeling that way, it can affect our relationships with other people, just like Ruby's talked about with your coworkers. You want to work as a team. So you need to feel adequate enough to be able to reach your full potential. So let's go over some strategies for coping. The first is share your feelings. The second is talk it out. The third is release your thoughts. 4, know when to ask for help. 5, be assertive when necessary. 6, give yourself some credit. 7, take time off. 8, accept anxiety. 9, get enough sleep. 10, leave your work at work. 11, identify and stop negative thoughts in their tracks. So we're going to go over these one by one. The first one is this: share your feelings. Talk to a coworker, a friend, a family member, or if you need a therapist, see a therapist, a mental health professional, because this allows you to process intense emotions and can be validating if the right person is supportive and understanding. So I like the little picture on the side that says, I told my therapist about you. I think that's funny, but it's true. So when we share our feelings, we can talk to a coworker. If we're having a bad day, you say, you know what, I am not feeling well today. I think I need some extra help. So can you please cover me? Like instead of maybe doing 30 minutes, switching every 30 minutes, maybe switch every 15 or 20 minutes. So we can do that. And this allows you to process your emotions. And if you talk to the right person who is supportive, it can allow you to, it can be validating. Or in other words, it can make you feel like what you're going through is real. And if you find someone who's supportive and understanding that, it'll help you. And you know, if we have to see a mental health professional, there's no shame in that. That can really help us in our work and personal relationships. So that's definitely an option for us to share our feelings. So let's talk about stress. Talk it out. If you talk to someone who is experienced, you may get a new view on the situation, and someone can give you practical suggestions. Have you ever done this with a colleague? And if you have, how did it impact you? Ruby?
Well, sometimes it's good to know that the other person is just as nervous as you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it less stressful.
That's true. So we can benefit from the practical suggestions of someone who is experienced. So if we don't know what to do in a certain situation, ask our colleague and say, well, what should I do? For example, in a case where they the person said in the middle of court that I had made a mistake, I talked to a colleague who confirmed that I had not. So that obviously made me less stressful. So talking out your stress with someone who can give you advice is a really good thing. Another thing is release your thoughts. In psychology, it's called the thought spiral because it's like a spiral that your thoughts go in a spiral and it goes from bad to worse, like a catastrophic thinking. So it goes to from I made a mistake to I'm a failure to I'm going to get fired. So it goes from bad to worse. And when we have that thought spiral, then we need to release it and let it go. One way to release them is to write down our feelings. Get them out on paper. That will help you be able to, uh, like I said, get them out on paper, get them out of your brain. It helps you release that thought spiral. Because if you go down that thought spiral, it's just a never ending, depressing thing to happen. So write it out, get it out. And I mentioned this briefly, but we need to know when to ask for help. If you're having a hard day, ask your colleagues for help. It may feel like everyone handles their work and stress independently, but this benefits no one. So if you're having a hard day, if you're just not on point, ask your colleagues for help. Like I said before, maybe you can say, you know what, if let's not switch every half an hour, let's switch every 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Or we can say, you know what, I need to take a break. I need to step away. And we should not feel embarrassed to ask for help because we all need it every once in a while. And it feels like everyone handles their work and stress independently, but not really. Whatever we do affects the other people, and this benefits nobody. So I just want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a hard day and asked for a colleague for help? If so, what was it that you asked for help with? Ruby?
I needed a new pair of glasses, so I couldn't read the document that I was supposed to read. So I had to ask for help. I had to ask Jasmine
Uh-huh.
for help to read it because I couldn't read it. So it was stressful because I didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to see the document, but she
That's
was very
funny.
nice and she took over.
That's good. Yeah, sometimes we just need that extra boost. And like I said, sometimes we think that we have to work on our stress on our own, but this does not really help anybody. We need to ask for help, and the same thing, we need to give help. And I'm sure that y'all have given help to other people in the past and will continue to do so in the future. So asking for help is something that is really important. So another thing to remember is give yourself some credit. Like the picture says, sorry, I can't be perfect. No one is a perfect interpreter. We are imperfect and we will make mistakes or have a bad day or off day. And remember that even the interpreting exams have an accepted pass rate of 70 to 80%. So that would mean that if we were counting words, that would mean all out of 10 words, 3 would be incorrect for a 70, or 2 would be incorrect for an 80%. So when you think about it that way, you're like, oh wow, there's a room for error there. So we are imperfect and we will make mistakes or have a bad day or an off day. No one is perfect. Can any of you think about a time where you just had a bad day and how that affected you? Yes. Ruby?
No, me. Well, not too long ago, I had one of those weeks where I had not slept, and I was working with another interpreter, and she realized that I couldn't do it, or I was having a really hard time doing it, and she was very nice to call the staff interpreter, and I thanked her for it because I really was out of it. So that day, she helped me by calling another person to take my place.
That was very nice of her.
Hmm.
Did someone else raise their hand? Gina. Yes, Gina.
Yes, I am not in interpreting. I did consider it years ago, but it scared me, so I didn't pursue it. But but these principles can be applied in so many ways, parts of our lives, and different things I've been involved with. If you concentrate on the mistakes that were made, then as somebody said earlier, it's like, why did I even get involved in this? Why did I even start? And it can make it harder to do it the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So by understanding that some days are better than others, and giving that credit to yourself, for me at least, it helps me to say, all right, I can face it again the next time I have to do it and not give up.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good comments. Thank you. Ruby?
I like to think that we're almost perfect.
Almost perfect interpreter. I wish. I wish. So yeah, so when we think about the interpreting exams having a pass rate of 70 to 80%, that's really a generous percentage. Like I said, it means getting 3 or 2 words out of 10 wrong. So when we think about it that way, it makes us realize that we can't be perfect, and we're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes all day, every day. So that can make us feel a little bit better about ourselves. So, be assertive. What do you do when you make a mistake while interpreting? I think, Ruby, you're the only one interpreter here because I think Ludmila left. So, if you want to answer that question, what do you do when you make a mistake while interpreting? Oh, no, Ludmila is here. Just can't see her in the window. Ludmila? Hello?
No.
Hello.
Sorry, I keep dropping and I had to rejoin. I have a bad connection. I don't know what's
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
So,
It's okay.
I try to stay like muted and no video to see if I can hang on, but yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. We have a new home and a new internet connection, and it's been a big issue we've been having. So sorry,
Oh.
be patient with me if I drop
No, that's
and
okay.
rejoin.
No, that's okay. I just didn't see you there, so I figured that you left. But
No, I'm here.
okay. So I was asking you and Ruby, because you're the 2 interpreters that are here. What do you
Okay.
do when you make a mistake while interpreting?
Well, depends. If it's on a fast simultaneous, you have to move on. You can't just stop. Sometimes it's not even possible to stop. If it's during consecutive, I usually correct my mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to, and usually you should have a good interpreter with you right there, pointing stuff out in case you miss it. And yeah, always correct. But it depends on the situation. If it's simultaneous, the honest answer is most of the times you just move on. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep. That's good advice. So, like Ludmila said, we need to take ownership of our mistakes. And sometimes it's embarrassing, obviously, because we don't want to be like, oh, I made a mistake. But I have found that people are more understanding than you think, number 1. And number 2, they trust you more. Because they know that if you make a mistake and you're aware of it, you will correct it. So what happens, and this is an interesting one, what happens if somebody accuses you of making a mistake, but you did not make one. What do you do then?
I just say for the record that I stand by my interpretation.
Good. I remember, this just reminds me of a time I was in front of a judge, and we were talking about, the case was about, I don't remember what the case was about, but the question was, well, what did you do after that? And the defendant said, well, I went to the store, I went to the Chinese food store, and I got takeout. He said, yo fui a la tienda china y me llevé comida para llevar. So I said takeout. And the judge goes, he didn't say that. He said comida. And I was like, yeah, food. Takeout. And he was like, what? So he said that I made a mistake, but I didn't. So I just, like Ludmila said, well, I stand by my interpretation. Now the next one is a fun one. What if the judges or the attorneys disrespect you? What do you do then?
This happened to me in Wake County one time, many years ago. I was working for, I think it was Ron. Ron was gone, and he told everybody where to reach us and gave everybody my phone number because I was going to be covering for him. And I got a request for Superior Court like at 4 p.m. When I show up, this district attorney that I'm not going to name, he said, well, where were you? And I jokingly said, well, what do you mean? I was interpreting, we get calls every 2 minutes here. This is a big courthouse. And he was like, well, I've been calling you since 2 p.m. Where are you? I'm like, I just got a call now from you. And he dropped the F-bomb. He said, okay, what? And I noticed that he had some interns watching, and I said, look, I don't care who you are, but you're not going to talk to me like that. That is totally unprofessional and uncalled for. And boy, I could see him shrink right there. He probably thought, well, I was probably 25 back then, and not very, not a very big or striking person and kind of small. He probably thought, well, this girl, I'm just gonna yell at her. And he stopped. And he apologized. And then he went to Jorge Padron and apologized to him. He said, hey, this happened with this girl today. And that person is not going to mess with somebody again. It's just, sometimes you just have to tell them, hey, stop. This is not right. I don't know. Sometimes it's what you have to do, especially if you're a female, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. This reminds me of Judge, what was his name? The judge in Johnson County. What was his name?
Oh, which one? Corbett?
Corbett. Can't believe I forgot his name. But I was in court with him, and he asked me to do something that was against the code of ethics, which I can't remember now what it was. But I told him no, and he said, well, if you do that, I'm going to find you in contempt of court and sentence you to 30 days in jail.
Oh, I remember this.
Yes.
I remember this story.
So I'm not suggesting that this is the approach that you should take, but what I told him was, if you do that, the first call when I get to the jail and they give me my phone call, I'm going to call WRAL and report you so that they can make a story. And I said, and then I'll sue you and I'll make so much money that I won't have to ever work again. And he was like, I can't believe you said that. And then I said, well, you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. I don't know how he did not put me in jail for that.
Well, he likes to be, he likes to be the center of attention, but I don't think he wanted the attention of the media. That's for sure. He was not going to risk that.
So I don't necessarily recommend that approach, but for me, it worked at the time. Okay. So the next situation is, what do you do when a colleague makes a mistake? This is kind of a tricky one, and I know that it depends on the situation, but let's say that they make a mistake during consecutive. What do you do?
I let them know immediately after they are done interpreting the utterance. I tap them on the shoulder. I'm usually like right behind you. If you're doing consecutive with me and you get nervous, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be right behind you with a pen and paper.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know. And, you know, usually the person working with me knows this, and they kind of look over their shoulder and see if I'm like tapping on the piece of paper, like here. I try to do that. If it's during simultaneous, I let it go, and then I just write it down and tell them later.
Yeah, and I have found that a lot of interpreters don't like to be next to you. So when you're doing the interpreting, and I find that not very helpful, because if you're sitting with let's say you're sitting with the client and you're interpreting from the witness stand, what is the other interpreter going to do? Yell across the courtroom? You know?
A lot of people get nervous and they say, "Oh, I can hear well here," and they go sit in the jury box, and I'm like, "Okay, you're just getting away from me, but that's fine." You can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, and I understand the anxiety. I have a generalized anxiety disorder, so I know I get very anxious too. But I'm the type of person that does things and then gets anxious later.
So which is worse, getting anxious later or at the time? What do you think is worse?
Later.
Yeah.
Because then later you have to, like you said, identify the thoughts and stop them, or they keep going on forever. When something happens on the spot, after whatever's happening is over, it's done. But if you start thinking about it later, oh boy, that can be a dangerous game to play, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So that was a good conversation. I really appreciate your input. I think this is a good time to take a little break. So let's take a break until 1:50. So 8 minutes.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Hey, so it's 1:50. Is everybody back?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right, so we just talked about being assertive. Let's talk about another thing that we can do. So take time off. If we feel burned out, take some time off of work and disconnect. This will allow you to reset and decompress, even if it's just an afternoon or a leisurely lunch. I always go to lunch when I'm working because, like it says here, it allows me to reset and decompress. But ideally, we should take off time of work. But that's not always possible. So even if we just do a nice lunch or take an afternoon off, that will really help us to manage our stress. Okay. Accept anxiety. Like the picture shows, anxiety, don't be nervous. The more you fear it, the more powerful it can become. So take a moment to reflect and accept it as an uncomfortable feeling that will end. As they say, this too shall pass. Another thing that's really helpful is getting enough sleep, because stress can cause you to stay awake at night, but then lack of sleep leaves you vulnerable to more stress. So practice good sleep habits, including don't drink too much coffee, follow all the recommendations that the doctors do about your good sleep habits. Try to go to bed the same time every night and get up the same time every morning. Avoid screen time 1 hour before bed. I know it's hard, but you can do it. And take 10 to 15-minute relaxation breaks during the day. This may not be so easy if you're working, but like I said, when the court takes a break, you take a break too. Go to the bathroom, get something to drink, eat a snack, do something to relax yourself. And like I like the little picture there. I need more sleep. I think we all need more sleep. Another thing is leave your work at work. Avoid taking your work home with you. Give your mind time to refresh and relax. As interpreters, this is easier for us to do compared to other professions, because once we're done interpreting, that's as far as we need to go. When we're interpreting, we're done, we're out of there. We don't have any reasons why to take it at home with us. So when you're home, refresh and relax. We were talking about the thought spiral. So what can you do to stop negative thoughts in their tracks? What do you do to stop that thought spiral? Well, there's a practice that's called thought stopping. It puts your nerves into perspective. And thought stopping is exactly what it sounds like. You telling your stress to stop. You literally tell yourself, stop. Once you hear your internal voice telling you negative thoughts, just say stop and imagine a stop sign in your head. And that helps you put your nerves into perspective. So we need to say no to stress, no to negative thoughts. And this is actually a very helpful suggestion. I've used it myself, and it does help to put that stop sign in your mind and say stop. If you have to say it out loud, say it out loud. Stop. So now let's talk about how we can use muscle relaxation techniques to help you ground yourself and feel more relaxed. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to close your eyes, and it's okay, I can't see you, so I don't know if you're doing it or not, but we're going to do an exercise. So once you're comfortable, follow the directions, and we'll be doing a total body relaxation exercise. So first, take 3 deep abdominal breaths, exhaling slowly each time. As you exhale, imagine that tension throughout your body begins to flow away. Clench your fists. Hold for 7 to 10 seconds and then release. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Now tighten your biceps by drawing your forearms up toward your shoulders and making a muscle with both arms. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Tighten your triceps, the muscles on the undersides of your upper arms, by extending your arms out straight and locking your elbows. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tense the muscles around your eyes by clenching your eyelids tightly shut. Hold, and then relax. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tighten your jaw by opening your mouth that you stretch the muscles around the hinges of your jaw. Hold, and then relax. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your lips part and allow your jaw to hang loose. Now tighten the muscles in the back of your neck by pulling your head way back, as if you were going to touch your head to your back. Be gentle. Focus on tensing the muscles in your neck. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Since this area is often tight, it's good to do the tense relax cycle twice. So take a few deep breaths and tune into the weight of your head sinking into whatever surface it is resting on. Tighten your shoulders by raising them up as if you were going to touch your ears. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Tighten the muscles around your shoulder blades by pushing your shoulder blades back as if you were going to touch them together. Hold the tension. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Tighten the muscles around your shoulder blades by pushing your shoulder blades back. Hold the tension. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Tighten the muscles of your chest by taking in a deep breath. Hold up to 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Tighten your stomach muscles by sucking your stomach in. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Tighten your lower back by arching it up. Imagine, hold, and then relax. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Now tighten your buttocks by pulling them together. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Imagine the muscles in your hips going loose and limp. Now squeeze the muscles in your thighs all the way down to your knees. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Feel your thigh muscles smoothing out and relaxing completely. Now tighten your calf muscles by pulling your toes toward you. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Now tighten your feet by curling your toes downward. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Mentally scan your body for any residual tension. If a particular area remains tense, repeat 1 or 2 tense relax cycles for that group of muscles. Now imagine a wave of relaxation slowly spreading throughout your body, starting at your head and gradually penetrating every muscle group all the way down to your toes. So head to toes. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. So remember, regular practice of progressive muscle relaxation once a day will produce a significant reduction in your overall level of anxiety. It would also reduce the frequency and intensity of panic attacks. It also will reduce anticipatory anxiety that may arise in the course of systematically exposing yourself to phobic situations. In other words, if we do this, this will reduce our level of anxiety and anticipatory anxiety that we can feel when we're about to do something. and feel nervous about it. So this exercise can be used for that. How do you feel after that exercise?
I want to go to sleep.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's do a more brief one. It's called a grounding technique. This is to get your mind off of your thought spiral and get you grounded. In other words, connect you to reality. So the easy way to do this is you can do a 1-minute grounding technique. So while you're sitting in a chair, put your feet an equal distance apart. Grip the chair with your hands. Close your eyes and focus on the feeling of the chair on your legs, back, and hands. Take deep breaths and count to 30. Clear your mind of all other thoughts. Repeat until you feel more collected and calm. So let's try that. So let's put our feet an equal distance apart. Grip your chair. Close your eyes. Focus on the feeling of the chair on your legs, your back, and your hands. Take deep breaths and count to 30. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now clear your mind. Repeat until you feel more collected and calm. So that was a 1-minute grounding technique, and I think it's very effective. I don't know what you guys think.
Good, and you could even do it in the courthouse.
Yeah, that's true. You could do it when you're driving, except don't close your eyes. Yeah. So these are some techniques that we can practice every day. The more you practice it, the better you become at it, and the more effect you'll feel. So let's review the highlights. When can anxiety be helpful? Well, we learned that anxiety can be helpful to do the best job that we can. We learned about symptoms of workplace anxiety and how it affects your ability to interpret. We talked about imposter syndrome, which is one of my favorite topics, actually, and how vicarious trauma can cause stress. And we went over some techniques to combat workplace anxiety. So, of everything that you've learned today, what is your takeaway from this webinar?
That feeling nervous or stressed is more common than you think, that we all go through some of these things at one point or another, and that there are things that we can do to make them better.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. What about you, Ruby?
Same thing. I know that we all have are sometimes not unsure of what we've done, but it's important to face the reality, like you said, that we're not perfect. They're not expecting, although they expect us to be perfect, we're not required to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us some faith to be able to be satisfied with what we do.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. My favorite, like I said before, is the imposter syndrome. I feel
Mhm.
once I learned about what that was, I'm like, oh, so that's what I'm feeling. Because I do feel like that a lot of times. Like, oh man, how can I be a certified interpreter? I'm lousy at what I do. And so, knowing that people go through that is helpful, so that you don't have to doubt yourself every step of the way. And also, this reminds me of one day I was not feeling that well, and I did such a bad job. And I told my mom. She's like, "Well, did it affect due process?" I was like, "No." Then don't worry about it. That's what she told me. I was like, you know what? You're right. So talk to the right people to build you up. So that's all I have for today.
Okay.
We finished a little bit early, like 20 minutes early. Is there anything that you would like to discuss or go over?
I think it was pretty good. Clear.
Yeah, me too. I enjoy it very much. Thank you. That was good.
Okay. So
Good
do
to
we
hear
need to?
you, Ludmila. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Oh, I know. I haven't seen you guys either since Najit. I was looking forward to the conference this year, and then COVID happened and ruined all of our plans. But yeah,
Where,
I'm in Texas now.
Oh, you are? What part of Texas?
I'm in Arlington.
Arlington.
That's between Dallas and Fort Worth. It's
Okay.
like in that metroplex. We're like
Uh-huh.
closer to Fort Worth, really.
Oh, okay.
are you working there?
Not yet. Um, we're still kind of getting settled, and I'm homeschooling,
Oh,
so I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, we're putting. I need to set a few things up, but yeah, we're slowly getting settled.
good.
Wonderful. Well, I used to live in the Southwest for a long time, and it took time to get used to it because the heat is incredible.
Oh my
But
gosh, yeah.
and the dust storms and all that stuff. But I miss the food really bad.
Oh, the food is really awesome. We are in like Little Vietnam here in Arlington.
Oh, really?
So,
Really?
oh my gosh, we're eating so well. I mean, last night we went to this restaurant and we had food that was just as good as Vietnam. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it's
Wonderful.
cheaper too. North Carolina was getting really expensive, so it's nice to live somewhere cheaper too for a change.
Very good. All right.
All right. Well,
All
it
right,
was good
girls.
seeing you guys.
Yeah, great to
Okay.
see and hear you too.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't get to see me because I couldn't figure it out. Anyway,
That's
I
why I
look
said hear
terrible.
and see. I did hear you.
All right.
All right, ladies.
Okay.
Y'all take
Thank you,
care.
Ariana.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ariana. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.